Join us on the fearless pursuit of self-discovery and growth.
This is Ivy Unleashed,
a Gold Ivy production.
Welcome back. You are listening to Ivy Unleashed, here with Brooke, Andrea, and one of our favorite humans.
Yes, in the entire world. Cara Hatch is in the house. Welcome to Ivy Unleashed again.
Welcome back.
Yes.
I'm so happy to be here and to be in your space. It's fantastic.
Yes.
We're so happy to have you and to be talking about a topic that you're really passionate about, something we didn't even know was a thing, but just shows you the different aspects of health and wellness, how much really makes up health and wellness that we don't even know about.
Right. And if, just for reference, Cara was on episode 4, and it's a lot of people's favorites because you opened up people's mind to thinking differently about, you know, the way that you think, the way you talk to yourself, the stories you're telling yourself, and how you can really transform your life. And so I'm just so grateful that that episode exists. And I'm so excited to have the opportunity to talk to you again. I mean, I want to talk to you every day of my life. Can you just move in here?
That would be a lot of energy in one place, but we would have so much fun and we would learn a lot. And what I have found is what really lights me up is having inspiring conversations. Because as we've talked about before, your words create your world. And the more that we can do to surround ourselves with people who are talking about things that are important to them, and then we can share what's important to us, you create a values alignment or a want match. And that creates even more abundance around you. And so I'm happy to be here. And y'all are just fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. I love to hear that.
And Andrew and I are obsessed with thinking about why we are the way we are. And this is where this topic falls into place. So Cara introduced us to human design, which was new to us. And Andrew and I are all about, and our mission with Gold Ivy is to listen to your truth, right? To be your authentic self. And human design is about telling us what that authentic self is. So, Cara, let's dive in. Tell us about what the heck human design even is.
Yeah. And I love that you're saying, like, what the heck is it? Because that's exactly the experience that I had. I was on a walk listening to a podcast, and all of a sudden somebody mentioned human design. It's like, well, what is that? I haven't heard of it. They started describing it. And then I got this intuitive hit of, oh, this is what you're going to learn next. And I have learned to follow those urges. If something piques my interest, I want to gather even more information about it. And I'm also somebody who I want what I want. Like, I want to get my way. And just like in your Gold Ivy intro, like, decide what you want and then get it. But I couldn't figure out, okay, well, if there's this thing that I want, why isn't there a map to get it? Like, because I want things not necessarily to be easy, but to be easeful and to experience more flow. And because I want what I want other people to get what they want too. Because it's just amazing to be able to create experiences that feel fulfilling, or you feel even more peace in your life, or even more success or satisfaction, or that element of surprise, that aha moment when you get that sense of awe. It's beautiful. So I started learning about human design. And I know you're still wondering what it is because we've talked for several minutes without actually saying it. So here we go. All right. If you were somebody in middle school who loved doing like the quizzes in Teen Beat or YM, I'm dating myself now, or if you're interested in the Enneagram or even just astrology, this is a tool or a technology that you would likely also be interested in, but I want to differentiate it from those other things because it is not necessarily something to be believed. It is an experiment. It is rooted in spirituality and also science. So it combines the wisdom of the chakra system, the Kabbalistic tree of life, the I Ching, and conventional astrology with quantum mechanics. So think of Eastern and Western spiritual traditions mixed with science, and you take your birth date, the exact time and the place where you were born, you enter it into a computer system, and then you get a map. And it doesn't have anything to do with religion. It's a technology that you can experiment with. And of the map, you're going to, if you imagine like the silhouette of a human, and then there are energy centers similar to the chakra system. So imagine there are dots going up from like the root of your spine all the way up to the top of your head. And then there's another one kind of around your right side, like between your ribs and your hip bone, and another one around your left side, like your ribs and your hip bone. And those energy centers will either be like colored in on your map or open. So I think of it's like an outlet. It's kind of like defined, plugged in energy, or it's still open to receive. Defined centers are ways that you're more solid. You're not open to influence as much. It's part of who you are. And open centers where you can gain wisdom, but it's also where you're open to conditioning from the world. So you might get a story or a fear or an emotion that's not really yours. So it's important to know where in your system you're kind of already plugged in and where you're still available to be receptive. And then in between those centers, what makes it white or what makes it defined are all these little channels. If you think of like the little circuit boards, like Snap Connects that kids play with, you're going to have connections between them. And those are the ones that are like your unique gifts. And it's important to know that because you have your own unique map, just like everybody else in the world. And so I can give this kind of sciencey explanation, but that doesn't make sense to everybody. And sometimes it doesn't even make sense to me. So the way that I make it make sense is if you were to imagine a puzzle, but you open up the box and every puzzle piece is face down so that you only see the cardboard. Now, you can see that there are similar shapes. There's probably like 5 different variations of shapes. You could fit some together. You could force some others together and other ones just aren't going to work. And you're probably going to get frustrated and just give up and say, why can't this be easier? But if you were to flip over the puzzle pieces and see the distinct shape, see the different colors, the beauty and the variety, you're going to be able to see how they are all designed to fit together in a complementary way to create a beautiful whole. That is the purpose of human design. It is the science of differentiation. When we talk about being authentic, it's knowing you are here with your unique gifts and your unique purpose, and you are not supposed to be a homogenized version of everybody else. And that's what I love about human design, because I can honor my own gifts and honor the gifts of other people, when in the past, I thought perhaps maybe everybody should do things my way. Apparently not true.
Yeah, it sounds like, we talk about this all the time. Take the time to reflect and get to know yourself. But we haven't really given an in-depth example. This is like on steroids. This is like, if you want to know yourself, if you know when you were born, I'm sure you do. Most people know where they were born, the minute, but it's very important. So yes. Can you talk about why that's so important to know the exact minute that you were born and not like round up or round down?
Yes. And I'm going to do it in a general way. So bear with me, have an open mind. So if we imagine in the sky, planets are moving around, different energies are happening at different times. And that relates to within the human design chart, there's different gates that show up due to different like times of the year and even down to the minute. So if you don't know your birth time, there are some aspects of the chart that you could figure out, the broader ones, but when you really dig in to the chart, that is going to be dependent on your birth time and getting it as exact as possible. So it's often in your baby book or on your full birth certificate, or there are astrologers that can do something called birth chart rectification, where they can like interview and figure it out. I don't know how they do that. I don't specialize in it, but it exists.
Yeah. Also, I know you can call the hospital where you were born and somehow request this, because I thought that my birth certificate was lost, but my mom found it because I have a copy and it doesn't have the exact minute. So I just think that's an important piece of the puzzle, because I was questioning with Cara, like, maybe I should just round up to, 3:35 or whatever. And then realized that the minute really gave me a lot of information. So
Yes.
I just wanted to emphasize, like, if you can find the exact minute, you really should.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got the exact time, you've got where you were born, you've got the date, and then you put it in this computer system.
Yes.
And it gives you some gold. As someone that's trained in this, what do you look for? Like, you have this information, you put it in, and then what?
Yes. And you guys are probably wondering what computer system I use. There are a lot. You can find them online. My teacher, Jenna Zoe, I really like her website, myhumandesign.com. It's a very user-friendly way. And so then what happens is when I'm going to work with somebody for coaching, I'm putting their information in, and then we're going to get a chart that looks like this. I know you're listening. I just held up a picture of the design that I talked about earlier. And then the first thing that I'm going to look for is their energy type. So there are 5 different types in human design. I'm going to tell you the names, and then I'm going to tell you what they do. All I want you to think about is if there's like a team that's made up of 5 players. Okay. So we have manifestors, generators, manifesting generators, projectors, and reflectors. So each energy type has a job on the team, and the team we can think of as like the world. So manifestors are about 9% of the population. They are our catalysts. They're here to initiate new ideas, and it's in their alignment to just take action. They're the fire starters. Then we have generators. Generators lift the world up by doing things that light them up because they've got the motors. They're the workers. They can take something that's been initiated by a manifestor and bring it in to fruition. Then we have a hybrid. Manifesting generators, they have the power to initiate and also the motor to carry it out. So about 37% of the population, give or take, manifesting generators, about 33% are generators, pure generators. Then we have the projectors. The projectors are the guides, the leaders. They are observing. They can see a better way to get things done. They help us be even more efficient. They are not designed to be working all the time because their strength is, whoa, guys, I see how you're using your energy. You've got an even more efficient way that you can tap into. That's about 20% of the population. And then 1% are the reflectors. They're like the mirror or the thermostat in the room. They tell you how things are going. They don't have any of the defined centers. They are wide open. So if you're around a reflector, you're going to experience you through them. And they're super, super important because they're basically telling about like the health and well-being of what's going on because they feel it. So, and that's magic. So for y'all listening, I'm speaking to you, you have probably noticed the chemistry that Brooke and Andrea have. And there's a very specific reason for it. I was able to look at both of their charts. And Brooke is a manifesting generator. So manifesting generators, they are multi-passionate. They are not designed to do just one thing. They notice in their body what lights them up, and then it is their superpower to say no to what doesn't. And so whenever Brooke is really kind of in her zone, Andrea can tap into her energy to fuel her because Andrea is a projector, which means she doesn't necessarily have her own motor, but she can plug into other people. But what she does have is that superpower to observe how things are done and figure out a more efficient and effective way to do it. Now, the magic to keep the two of you getting along is because Brooke is responding to what lights her up. For you, the way that you use your energy, Andrea, is to wait for the invitation to share your gift, to share your wisdom, to share your way. So you don't want to just necessarily tell Brooke, do it this way. You kind of sense or even ask, or maybe she's going to ask you, what do you see? What could we do? And then when we take the two of your charts, if you're to lay them on top of each other, like the chords, I call them chords. They're not really called that in human design. It's just works for my brain. They plug into each other. And there's even more like charisma and motivation and willpower, efficiency. And then one of the other gifts that Andrea has is this gift to see the bigger picture and tapping into a greater consciousness. So when you talk about like your daily habits, it's like, okay, oh, but big picture, why? How are you growing here? And so the chemistry that we all think is just kind of natural, it's by design. And that's why your clients get the results they do. That's why people love watching you on social media. They get drawn in. That's why they like listening to you, because they're able to like plug in and tap into that energy. And so when I'm first looking at a chart, I want to know, okay, what is your energy type? How are you meant to be doing it? Because so often we are trying to live our life based off of this external idea of what we think we should be doing. And all we're doing is burning ourselves out, getting frustrated, feeling angry. We're not experiencing the success. We're bitter. It just doesn't work. And each energy type will have a signature emotion. It's like your energetic alignment, and it's going to be that signal. So if you're a manifestor and you're in alignment, you're going to experience a sense of peace. If there's a misalignment, anger is going to show up. Now, Brooke, for you as a manifesting generator, when you are in alignment, it's that feeling of satisfaction. Like, yeah, that's it. That's it. If you're not there, it's going to be bitterness. And you will feel it. And we want to honor that. There's nothing good or bad in human design. It's just, are we aligned or misaligned? Is it an opportunity for recalibration? So when bitterness shows up, it's like, pause, wait, let me come back to an emotional calm and see. Now, Andrea, for you as a projector, your alignment is actually going to show up in success, like literal success. It's money coming in. It's listeners.
Let's go.
It's validation. You know, it's the medal at the end of the marathon. I don't know if you get medals. I think you get medals. Yes. I don't run. Generators, they are also going to be like you, Brooke, that feeling of satisfaction if they're in it, bitterness if they're not. And then the reflectors are really interesting because it's that surprise, that sense of awe. And it's really important for them to be mindful of their environment. And then if they're feeling a lot of disappointment, they're not in a space or around people that are in energetic alignment. So when I coach people, I'm looking at, okay, what's your energy type? And then tell me about your emotional experience. Can you name them? Where do they live in your body? Have you learned how to feel them? Because then that can tell us if you're in alignment with it. And then if you're not in alignment, you've got some decisions to make.
Yeah, I'm curious about this word success because I've never really been like money driven ever. And so when you said the word validation, that felt more like my word. And so I'm kind of curious if this word doesn't really speak to you, like how do you use it to benefit yourself, to know that you're in alignment? If you're like, I don't know if that word success is the right word for me.
So what I do and I'm just going to speak from my own experience. If I'm not sure if a word resonates, I literally go to the dictionary. I read the definition. I look at the root of the word. I look at synonyms of the word. And then I pay attention if something else resonates, and then I keep that. That's the beauty of human design. It's an experiment. You keep what resonates, you let go of what doesn't, and the sweet spot is to be open to experiment with something that you don't think resonates, but might.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been thinking about this lately where I'm like, I've never been money driven, but it's that relationship I'm working on too, where it's like, why am I not open to thinking about that more? I think I'm afraid of it because I don't know what it means for me, because I've never generated a ton of wealth before. And so I get nervous about it. I think I'm afraid of it. And so I think you're spot on that it is something I need to explore more.
Yeah. And I would be so curious to explore what the phrase money driven means to you, because it could be locked up in that phrase. And the way that you just modeled talking it out is in alignment with how you are meant to make decisions. We call it the authority, and there's different body centers where we're supposed to make decisions in human design. Our mind is an excellent information taker inner and processor. How's that for grammar? But our body is where we make decisions. So for you, Andrea, it's perfect that you have a podcast and that you are a coach doing a lot of work talking, because you have a self-projected authority. So speaking your questions, talking about your ideas, and then mindfully listening to what you say. So it could be really interesting, not right now, but later I'm like, okay, what does money driven mean? And then if you can define that story, see that story, it's possible that that's not even connected to your definition of success.
Totally. This is why you're my coach. It is wild how, and we've talked about this before with you, how powerful words are. And I think you think about the words that you're thinking, but it's important also, like you said, if you're a verbal processor, you have to talk things out. You can learn in that too. What am I even saying right now? And why am I saying it? Cara does this thing all the time. She's like, can we just back the train up for a second? Can we talk about that word that you just said that came out of your mouth? It's super valuable. And it's just the value of a coach to have someone to say, wait a second, where did that thought come from? Can we just talk about it for a second?
Yeah. And the meaning you have tied to that thought that you're not even consciously aware of until you verbally process it, unpack it. You can then see why it's holding you back. No, I really don't think that way.
Yeah, because you can be curious, is that even mine?
Yeah.
And that's one of the purposes of human design, is where they call it deconditioning. So where have we taken in a story that's not ours or doesn't serve us? How can we look at it in a different way? How can we reframe it? If we choose to let it go, how could we do that with ease?
Yeah. Can you give an example of what giving something away with ease would be?
Yeah. So so I'm a manifester. And with a manifester, we're catalysts, we're initiators, but we're not go, go, go. Our energy ebbs and flows. So we have creative urges. So I'll get a bunch of stuff done and then I crash. I call it a productivity hangover. Because that's what it felt like. And then while I was in that down, I had this story that I was just lazy. Why can't I just keep go, go, go? And then once I realized that my energy is designed to ebb and flow, I was like, oh, I can let go of the belief that I'm lazy. I just recognize I'm in an energetic low and I am preparing for that next urge. So I can use that time purposefully. So how do I want to rest on purpose to prepare myself versus binging on TV shows and then giving myself a guilt trip at the same time that I should be doing something else. And then I'm exhausted for when I do get an idea because I just spent a whole bunch of time beating myself up. That makes no sense. So I was like, no, I'm not lazy. I'm just super efficient in working in spurts.
So speaking of rest, right now doing this whole parasite protocol, detoxing my body, brain fog, fatigue. I am struggling to allow myself to rest because it's that trust of, okay, I know if I rest, I should feel better, but will I? Because in the moment I don't. So I'm curious, based on my chart, how you can help me to be okay with resting.
Yes. So we talked before, you're a manifesting generator. You have your own motor. You have a lot of energy and you're passionate about doing a lot of things. So when we think about the idea of rest, sometimes the brain gets confused and it thinks that rest means like not doing. And your brain's going to argue with it because it's like, oh my gosh, but there are these things I want to do. So what we can think of is looking at, okay, wait, what are the things that I'm currently doing that don't light me up or don't feel like flow? Flow could be possibly another word to practice with instead of the word rest. Because if you start saying no to things that don't light you up, that's going to create some space. And then when you have space, then you're going to be able to decide, okay, what do I want to do with it? And that's important to recognize because in your chart, some people are designed to be very structured. Other people are designed to be unstructured, but it's unstructured into like open to receive. And so receiving, that's also something that many people have to practice. You know, not everybody knows how to receive. So for you, it's the not doing. It's like, oh, wait, is this an opportunity where I could either delete something or could I delegate it? Is this an opportunity for me to receive support from somebody else so that I have some rest? And so it's for you because your purpose in life actually is also to be busy. Oh, I don't love the word busy, but you have so much energy. You just want to make sure that you're intentionally choosing where you're using it.
Yeah. And I think right now I have even, like, I know I want that energy. Like I feel it and I'm like, oh, I know that I'm missing it. And it is such a big part of me. And so not having that energy is hard to envision myself in that flow state, right? To say no to things when I feel like I have to say yes to the things that are helping me in the moment, like tracking everything, right? These things that I don't want to be saying yes to, but I don't really have that choice.
Yeah. So I'm curious, and this is where the experiment would come in. I'm really curious if you were to look at the things that you're labeling as have tos, if there's a way to use your creativity to think about, okay, how could I make doing this thing feel even more like flow?
Yeah. Well, and then, so I think about that, right?
Yeah.
So I think like, how can I make this easier on myself? Because I think of ease as like flow and I don't have to think about it. It doesn't cause me stress. It comes natural. And that's where that structure comes into place. So when you read me my design, I was having a hard time with that because as you guys know, I struggle with breaking up with my alarm clock and the days that with my snooze button, and the days that I do it and I have my morning routine, I feel on fire. I feel like everything has its spot. I don't have to think about it. I have it scheduled and planned out. And so I feel better. But then you're telling me that I shouldn't be structured, or my human design, right, isn't as structured. So I'm like, what?
Yeah. So that's where we get, it's interesting there because that's an example of you doing something structure that makes you feel really good. So that actually feels like flow.
Yeah.
What I'd be curious about is on the days that you don't do it, what did you choose to do instead?
Rest.
And what are you truly resting?
I feel like, yeah. So I feel like right now I could sleep for days. And so I'm trying to honor that, right? Like by napping, by doing these things.
Yeah.
But then it throws me out of that loop or out of that routine, which is then even harder to get back into and to get back into that flow state. So I'm like trying to give myself grace as I'm going through this really difficult time. My body is working so hard. It's going through all these things. So is it just kind of this season of life? Or is having this be structured, it's allowing me to flow in between it, if that makes sense. Like I have this morning routine, I'm structured with it, and I can flow I can take time to meditate, take time to prep food, but I have that time planned out. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's got me questioning everything.
Can we do an experiment?
Please.
Okay. Uncross your legs, feet on the floor. Close your eyes. Great. Okay, we're going to take 3 breaths. We're going to inhale through the nose for a count of 4. Exhale from 6 out of your nose. 2 more times. Inhale for 4. Exhale through the nose for 6. 1 more. Inhale for 4. And exhale for 6. Leave your eyes closed. From this calm space, knowing that your body knows what it wants, what feels like the sweetest next step for you.
I think just to relax and to sleep and recharge, but I don't feel the benefits of it, which is...
So what you just did there, and it's beautiful that you did it, because you listened to your body. You are designed to make decisions from this calm place. Mm-hmm. When you're not in an energetic high, you're not in an energetic low. So you got centered in your body. Your body told you what it wanted. And then your mind decided to jump in and argue with your body. Mm-hmm. So what would it take to give yourself permission to stop arguing with your body?
Oh, it's a powerful question. What would it take? I think just rebuilding that trust in my body, right? For 4 years, I've been told, no. And my body's like, listen to me, please. And so I'm so disconnected to it, shutting off my mind, which is hard.
Yeah. And you just highlighted trusting your body, rebuilding the trust. And like you guys have talked about before around confidence and building those trust and making those tiny promises to ourselves and then following through. For you, possibly part of your experiment is when we notice, okay, it's getting this message to rest. We say, okay, body, today we rest. 20 minutes we rest. You take the big vision and it's micro goals. It's micro trust. Right now we nap. Right now we make the food. And then when the mind chimes in, thank you, mind. I know you want what's best for me. Today, right now, in this moment, we're listening to calm body. And then it's those, like the pop beads that we had when we were kids. You're going to pop bead little bits of self-trust.
Ugh, shivers.
That's the thing is like, do you think you can do it? Like, are you telling yourself, I can do this? I can trust my body? Like,
I'm telling myself everything.
She's got to feel it.
Yeah.
So that's what's really, really important to know. We have, several different ways that we can get to a goal. Mm-hmm. And for Brooke, it's really paying attention to that calm space, because she's going to have an emotional wave. She's going to wake up in the morning. My teacher described it like God is a DJ. There might be a happy song playing. There might be a sad song playing. We don't know what it is. Like Brooke's just going to be in a mood, and that's fine. She's supposed to be. But when she's able to take time to find that calm center and then think about the decision, and does it give her like a sweet emotion? Mm-hmm. If it gives her a sweet emotion when she's in that calm space, then it's a yes. Because if she's making decisions on an emotional high, she's likely, I'm talking about you like you're not even here.
I love it.
You're likely to say yes to too many things. And if you're in a low space, you're likely to say no to something that might actually serve you. And so whenever you're faced with a decision, like one of the best things you can do is like, that sounds really interesting. Let me sleep on it.
Yeah.
Or I'll get back to you in 2 days. buy yourself some time. And what's great when we think about the concept of rest, when you buy yourself time, I'm going to sleep on it. That means you actually don't even have to think about it for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And so you're giving yourself mental rest, because it might not even be, it could be both. It could be physical rest. It also can be like mental rest, where it's like you've put your mind in charge of all these things it was never designed to do. Your emotional wave's like, I got you, girl. Just look for the calm. I'm here waiting.
Yeah, I think that's why meditating has been so amazing for me, because I am like this roller coaster, especially the last 4 years of like, no, I got this. Like, yes, yes, yes. And then this like, oh my God, like what the hell do I do? And so to get me back in that calm state, and Andrew, I'm sorry for you that I'm just an emotional roller coaster, but you know, as I practice it, I'm walking the walk because I'm realizing how it's making me feel. And, you know, with Gold Ivy and with Ivy Unleashed, it's sharing our struggle. Like, there's no such thing as the expert in the field. Like, we are all learning as we go. And that's why I want to share my journey, because of human design. And hearing what you're saying to me is like, aha, like this makes sense. Like, I can rest. Like, these little nuggets, it makes sense that my authentic self and what feels true to me, like, is right, and it is going to make me feel good and live a life that's on purpose, which is what we all need to do. It's like, there's this chart that's giving you permission to be who you are and who feels right for you.
Yes.
And I'm going to help you get there.
Yeah. And I'm so glad that you said the permission piece, because I wanted to pause a second and be like, back the truck up, because I heard you apologize about the emotional wave to Andrea. And what's super important is that you have a defined emotional center. So you have that wave. Andrea's emotional center is open. So she actually doesn't have it. So she learns about emotions through being around other people. So it's about half and half with us. Like half the people have defined, half the people who don't. So she's actually learning more about the human experience and what emotions are by being around you.
So you're welcome.
And what do I say to you when you're having this emotional wave? What do I tell you to do? Go record how you're feeling on your phone, because I feel like when you said to me, as a guide, I can see things farther out. I know that she's going to feel great eventually. And I know this is part of her journey. And I know that sometimes you have these big aha moments, like she had with Catherine on a coaching call yesterday. And I'm like, you need to record that, because eventually you're not going to feel this way. Eventually this is going to be like beautiful to watch and see and actually remember how you feel. And so, and I think we can all learn from her experience. Like, even though I don't have gut health issues right now, I feel like the way that she is maneuvering through this mud is so beautiful and inspiring. And we just recorded about it the other day, where it doesn't matter what anybody is going through. When someone's going through something tough, you can see yourself in it, and you can take away from how she's doing meditation and coaching and all of these things. I just think it's beautiful. And I think just keep being honest about how you feel. Don't hide it. Don't try and act like you feel great when you don't. Tell the people you love you're struggling. And anybody can also take that message. And I think with what we're doing with Ivy Unleashed and Gold Ivy is to share it. And it's important that you capture it for yourself and for others, because it's going to change people's life to hear exactly what you went through and what you were learning along the way.
Thanks, guys.
Well,
this is what I keep you two around.
It's evidence of self-trust.
Yeah.
When you tell the truth about what you're feeling in an unapologetic way. And like, I think that's the biggest thing when I'm on coaching calls or even in my personal relationships. I don't want the people that I care about to apologize for who they are. They're in my life for a reason. It's a thank you. Even if you're like pushing my button. I mean, that's the whole point, because it helps me learn even better. So like, I co-parent with my former husband, and he doesn't even know that I ran his chart, but I ran his chart, and now I get like why we had conflict And I'm like, oh, it wasn't personal. He was given this gift and I didn't see it. So now I can think about him in a new way, and then I can shift how I communicate. My mom transitioned from this life 5 years ago. I did her chart, and that helped heal like childhood stories and experiences that felt like small t trauma, not big T trauma, but small t. And I'm like, oh, that's why she did that. And so to be able to heal, it only takes one person to heal a relationship. So just by having a piece of paper with some colored in lines, you know, and some training that I've done, I've been able to rewrite the stories about complicated relationships and thrive even more moving forward.
That's beautiful. And I've been thinking about doing my children's too, because that's a big fear of mine is they're designed different than me. I can feel it. Like they're all three. They are not me. They are not Justin. They are truly their own person. And I know that. And I'm like, this is a tool that I can't wait to use and experiment with because they're complicated. We're all complicated people. And so I want to use it for them and friends and family. And like you said, even people that aren't here anymore on this earth to think about, you know, what you're struggling with trauma or complicated relationships, to think about even healing one piece of that or one thing that you live over and over in your mind. If you could better understand how they were processing what was happening, I feel like it could be a game changer.
Yeah, I parent differently. So my son is a manifesting generator like you, Brooke, and he's designed to just try different things. And if he doesn't like it, he's supposed to stop. So in the past, I used to think, oh, I have to force him to continue with all these activities for many, many years. And it's like, no, you signed up for a season, you complete the season, but if it doesn't light you up, you don't have to keep going. And my daughter's a manifestor like I am. And she just will initiate things and then let it go.
Which she should have her own YouTube account. She is like a little guru.
So, okay.
How old is she?
She's 10. But what's funny, she has the same profile as you, 1-3, and we call it kind of like the establisher of truth and knowledge. So this tapped into higher consciousness of like, you know these things and you don't know where it came from. So she has that in alignment with you. And I will try to explain something to her and then her eyes glaze over. And I'm like, wait, you already know this, don't you? And she's like, yeah, I stopped paying attention to you a while ago. And I'm like, thanks. So I feel like my kids will disagree with me, but I feel like I micromanage less and I worry less about parenting. Can we have an asterisk by less? Because now all of my friends who are listening to this be like, Cara, we talk to you all the time and you are micromanaging and stressing all the time. But it's really helpful for parenting also.
So back to me, because I don't have kids and I'm really obsessed with this topic. But I also have a question that a lot of people can relate to. So you mentioned earlier, being honest with how you're feeling, owning it, telling people how you're really feeling. So I'm trying to do that as I regain this trust in how I'm feeling and not having any shame or guilt around it. And I feel like now that I have answers, that shame has kind of dissipated. I get the importance of honoring how you're feeling. I also am doing a lot of work with law of attraction and abundance and putting the energy out there that I want to. So how do we honor how we're feeling, but not dwell on it so that we don't attract more of that?
Yes, I love that. So we want to make a distinction between like feelings or sensations and emotions. And when we get into like law of attraction, that's like the electromagnetic charge of like the emotions. So we can separate the story of what's going on from the sensation in our body. So you could keep it as simple. If someone said, how are you feeling? Like, oh, I'm in a high today. Or, oh, I'm in a low today. You don't have to give any details. You just like, I notice my emotions are in a high or a low, or I'm noticing I'm really calm. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is have it really embodied and sensory based. Like, oh, my stomach is feeling like crampy, or, oh, I'm noticing tension here. Or there's some burning under my right shoulder blade.
So detaching that I am or my
Yeah. You don't have to attach a story to it. You can just describe your lived experience.
Yeah. That's going to take some practice for sure. Thinking about, when I'm so wrapped into and want to share what's going on in my life, but not wanting to get stuck in there.
Yeah. And also a lot of, I'm thinking of moms, a lot of people I coach, they are afraid to be a burden on people with how they're feeling, with their struggles, with feeling overwhelmed with all that they're managing. And so I'm curious how you as a coach talk someone through that with feeling like they don't want to be a burden, like they don't want to put any of either their tasks on other people or their hard feelings or emotions on people. Like, how do you coach people through that?
That's a big one. It's big because oftentimes there's the root in worthiness. And so that takes layers. Sometimes the very first step I will do is clarifying what the true emotion is or what the true experience is. So for example, for myself the other day, I felt really overwhelmed. I'm like, I'm overwhelmed. And I was like, wait, if the word overwhelmed didn't exist, what would I actually be? And then I realized I'm unprepared. There were certain things coming up in my day that I had not yet prepared for. I was like, oh, the story, the drama is attached to the word overwhelm. It wasn't overwhelmed. It was time to break each task down and prepare for it. And I was like, oh, well, I know how to prepare for that. I don't know how to. Did you guys see the movie 10 Things I Hate About You?
Yes.
There's I'm like, I don't know how to just be whelmed. Like I know how to be overwhelmed. I don't know if that can just be whelmed. So really, because when I coach people, I hear I'm too busy or I'm too stressed out or just any of those broader emotions. But like, okay, what is it really? Because it could be anger. It could be feeling abandoned. For me, self-righteous indignation loves to show up under the blanket of resentment. But like, what is it really? And then when you honor the emotion, you notice where it is in your body. And then, if you were to use the human design lens, like you experience this thing, you figure out, okay, where's the energetic mismatch? Where am I trying to force something that could be done in a different way? Or if there's a new decision to be made, figuring out, okay, where in my body is it important for me to tap into? Because some people listen to the emotional wave, like Brooke. Other people listen to their voice, like Andrea. Some people listen to, there's a center called the spleen. It's like your intuition. Other people listen to their gut. There's different ways to make decisions. So we want to go layer by layer. First, what are you feeling? Like name it, own it, and then look for the energetic mismatch. And then decide, do you want to recalibrate it? And if you do, okay, let's make the decision of the best next step to recalibrate it. So when I'm in coaching conversations and somebody's coming to me with a, quote, problem, I'm going to look at their chart. And even before we get into all that, we're going to decide, is this really even a problem? Or do you just think it's a problem because of somebody else's opinion or your conditioning from family or media, just culture in general?
That's a really good point. Like, where does this belief even come from that I am giving so much space in my mind? Like, and I think about this all the time, and also would love to ask you this, how you shift down your value of other people's opinions.
Oh, that is like daily practice, because I love validation. I love it. But like any other drug, you're gonna crash. And so I intentionally slow down and think about the intention of why I'm choosing something. Am I trying to manipulate an outcome? And I use the word manipulate specifically because like my energy type as a manifester, like that is in the shadow side, that can be a tendency. And it's hard to admit that about yourself. Like, oh, if I wanted to, I could really manipulate the situation or this person. So pause. And sometimes it's not even manipulating to hurt the other person, but it's like, oh, I'm going to do this thing so that when I walk out of the room, everybody talks about how great I am. Like, that's so self-serving and in the moment feels good, but it's just like, ugh, afterwards. And so when we think about letting go of other people's opinions, just like we talked about you before, Brooke, it's about little bits of building self-trust of today for this moment, I'm going to value my opinion more than the other person because I've got to live in this body. And I'm the one who's going to be experiencing the results. Yes, it affects other people. And like manifestors, like they have an impact and they'll affect. So we have to be even more careful. Like we've got to inform, like this is what I'm up to so that we don't inadvertently cause harm. And so it's a practice. And I will call my friends and I'm like, okay, I want to do this thing, but I'm worried it's going to look like this. And then they will help me recalibrate too.
Yeah. It's important to have those people in your circle that can be really honest with you.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And then there are times when I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. And they'll say, that's essentially, that's a bad idea. I'm like, yeah, I know it's a bad idea and I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to learn from it. And then I'm going to be really grateful for you when I call you. And then you're going to say, I told you. And I'm like, I know you told me and I did it anyway. Because that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. I keep thinking too how powerful knowing what your word of feeling in alignment is, so that when, for me, when I'm on this emotional wave and I don't feel how I want to feel, knowing that I am out of line because I don't feel how I want to feel, and then thinking of the word satisfied and like what next choice would make me satisfied. Or to Andrea, success, like what would success look like? Would it be getting in another mile? Would it be cleaning the house? And really honing into that word, having something to draw you back to, I think is really powerful and just shows like how many powerful nuggets are hidden within your human design. And just like this never ending quest to figure out who you are. And now you have this piece of paper that can help you make sense of it.
And it's like that tip of the iceberg analogy. Like what I shared today was like the teeny tiniest little bit. Just a few of the concepts I shared today, they'll say you could practice those for 7 years before you even get into anything. So my sweet spot with coaching is with people who have never heard about human design before. They're into personal development. They want to, envision and achieve goals. But they're not sure quite how to do it, and they're curious about having more tools. And so my sweet spot is working with those beginners because I love shining the light on people's unique gifts. When I do people's charts and they say back to me like, "Oh, I feel seen." That is the best. And then we can talk about those ways to build even more trust and learn how to make decisions like one little bit at a time. And then you can just consistently like recalibrate along the way.
I'm thinking about someone just going to myhumandesign.com versus actually working with you. So taking it one step further, like what that process looks like. I know you kind of just went into it a little, but for anyone who's questioning, I want to do this, like what can they expect if they were to work with you?
Yeah, I love that question because they are both fantastic ways. And there's so many resources online. So if you are somebody who loves asking questions and doing research and digging into it on your own, there's so much out there. You can completely do it on your own. If you are somebody who you like to have someone like by your side and hold your hand through it, and you like to be asked questions, you want to get affirmation, if you know that you have some limiting beliefs, like you can see it, you can see the limiting belief, you know it, but you don't know how to shift it. That's where the coaching comes in. Because one of my gifts is to notice where people are out of tune in their life. And I provoke a little bit. So I'm keenly aware that some people, they resonate with me, and other people are like, nope, she is not for me. And that's okay. Like that's how I was designed. So if you thrive in collaborative relationships, if you like having conversations, if you want somebody to personally take you deeper and to really listen to what you value and what you want in life, then working with a coach could be helpful. So I love coaching people. I do that, but there are also lots of coaches. So even if you went on myhumandesign.com, I'm not on that site. There are other readers there that somebody might connect with even better. Like I have my own, because my coaching, it's actually built best through referrals or like the network, the people that I already know. So like I don't do cold calling and I don't have like Facebook ads. It's word of mouth. You should talk to Cara, or I heard Cara on a podcast, or I saw this thing online. Like there's some sort of personal connection, and that's in my chart. Is that's how I'm designed to build.
Well, I will personally refer everybody to you.
Message. Work with Cara.
Yeah. So where could they find you, or how could they get started with coaching if they wanted to?
Yes, I will be opening up bookings for September and October, and it will be at carahatch.com.
Awesome. So exciting.
If anybody is curious of just how I'm living life in alignment with human design, on Instagram, I am at Cara_Hatch. It's a lot of family stuff. But when I'm posting a picture, there's often, I think about it like I go out, I live my life, I learn something, and then I write about it. That's what's showing up on Instagram. And you can DM me there. I mean, don't be creepy, but.
It's so fun to follow you, because it's exactly what you're saying is like having someone that can speak the way that you speak and has completely transformed my life. And a lot of people I know, is to see how you walk the walk and your struggles. Cause I think that's valuable. Like I don't want to see you struggle, but I want to hear how you get through it. Because that's like, we all have those days. And to see like, oh, she's getting outside. Oh, she's struggling with this feeling right now. Oh, this is how she's getting through it. This is who she's leaning on, and this is what she's trying or learning about. And so you inspire me all the time. And I love also when you post your daughter's brilliant ways of thinking.
She is her mother's daughter.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. But it's not me. I mean, like there's part of me that's influenced, but like, and when I look at her chart, I'm like, oh, there are things that you know that I will never know. And her energy, so some people you almost have like a direct line of energy, and other people it's kind of split. So hers is like split into 3 sections, and it affects how she processes things. It also makes her be like a koala. So it's like she constantly wants to be plugged into me, which is a very interesting thing, because as manifestors, like we want space. So navigating personal relationships of when are we together? When are we apart? And how do we honor other people's energetic needs? And we can't fully honor somebody else's energetic needs until we understand ours.
That's a great point. Yes. Especially as a parent or anybody really, to be with a partner, you have to know yourself first so that you can even be your authentic self for the person. Then you, like, how do you know if you're the right person for someone if you aren't actually being you?
Yeah. Or you don't even know who you are.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's also interesting to think about how people change over time and how that works with human design. Like, do you have any thoughts on how you evolve as a human and how it lines up with, like, you're built this way, you're designed this way?
Yes. So I don't even know if devolve is a word, but the way that I think about it, so evolving as a human is actually deconditioning. So we are letting go of what's not ours.
that we've been conditioned to throughout like our early years of life, or
and also just generationally.
Okay.
Because there's also within the science of it, the human design chart also relates to the DNA double helix. So things are passed down in genetic code.
Can you see what's been passed down?
There's like whole other layers going into those. It's there, but that's like...
Yeah, I want to know what shit isn't mine that's been given to me, you know?
That just blew my mind. That literally just blew my mind thinking of evolving, not taking on more and learning more and learning more. It's unlearning and unlearning and getting back to who you truly are. It's like actually really refreshing to think of it that way. So thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like I could ask you 5 million questions. You know, I want endless time with you. So I hate wrapping up with you. But I'm just so thankful you came here because your energy is just contagious. And I just love everything you do as a person, as a parent, as a coach. You're just someone that is literally lighting up the world. And you align with our message so much of just like being who you are and celebrating it. And this is such a perfect tool to help people to do that. So thank you for bringing this topic and all of your wisdom here today.
This is so amazing and you're amazing. So thank you. And now it's time for our 3 gold stars.
First, get your human design chart. It's called a body graph. You can go to myhumandesign.com, enter in your birth date, time, and location, and you will get the pretty picture that will start you on your human design journey. The second thing, when you get that human design chart, you are going to focus on 2 things first. You're going to notice what your energy type is. See if you are a manifestor, a manifesting generator, a projector, or a reflector. Once you get your energy type, that's going to show you how you are designed to use your energy, what your strategy is, whether you are an initiator, a responder, a seer, or a mirror for our world. After you know your energy type, you are going to look for your authority. That is the way that you are designed to make decisions. Remember, we don't make decisions with our mind. Decisions are made within the body, and your graph will tell you the most aligned way to do that. And number 3, pay attention even more to when you notice that emotion that you want more of. So manifestors, notice when you are feeling peace. Manifesting generators and generators really dial into that sense of satisfaction, that full body, yes, please, I want more of this. Projectors, notice when you are experiencing success. When you create value in this world, it comes back to you. Savor that success. And reflectors, oh, you are so rare and so valuable. We see you, we honor you. Notice when you feel surprise, that sense of awe, that you know that you're in the right place with the right people. Soak that in.
All right, Cara, it's time for Unleashing Ivy, the surprise questions.
All right.
Are you ready?
I hope so. We'll find out.
Okay, my first question is about you and your chart. What were you surprised by or shocked to learn about yourself in this process?
Oh, the informing part. So, like, tell people what I'm up to. I used to be really secretive, like if I was up to something, and it could even be something silly. So, meditation. I used to want to hide it. So I would wait till nobody was home and then I would meditate. Or if I wanted to do something, I thought that I had to get permission first. The challenge with not informing when you're a manifestor is you can come across as sneaky and people don't know what you're up to. And then it creates a bad vibe. So once I realized, oh, I don't have to ask permission. I just have to tell people what I'm up to. And then there's even more ease. And then I don't have that drama, because if I don't tell somebody that I'm doing it and then I do it and then they find out about it, they're like, what the heck? So it just saves a lot of time and energy to just say, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Okay, my question. I'm curious, as you've been experimenting with your own chart, maybe even clients, the biggest lesson that you've learned.
The biggest lesson that I learned is that I'm actually designed to be really structured. And that surprised me because I value freedom. And like we discussed before, I want to do what I want when I want to do it. But it turns out I thrive with routine and I thrive with structure. And it was so important for me to be surprised by that because it helps me be an even more effective coach when I'm talking to people and maybe structure's not working for them. Because then I might have this idea of like, oh, wait, structure really works for me. You should just do it my way. Well, it's quite possible that their chart, they might be designed to be more inconsistent or to have more flow. So because I was so surprised, I can be even more open-minded when I'm coaching somebody that they might be, they are. I mean, they're going to be designed differently. Everybody has their own design. But I can be even more open-minded when I'm coaching because I was wrong about myself. And those are times when I love to be wrong.
Yeah, it helps to know yourself more and learn more things that you think you know yourself until you dive more into something like this. All right. And my question is more on the parenting side is what is something you wish you would have known sooner about being a parent?
That the purpose of parenting is an opportunity to reparent yourself.
And how do you feel like you've reparented yourself?
Different ways. So I will notice if I'm getting frustrated with my kids, when we're saying, put on your shoes 17 times and the shoes are still not on. And I get that emotion of anger. I can recognize, oh, wait, they're pushing the button of, I don't feel heard. Nobody's paying attention to me. Why aren't they listening to my needs? So then I can recognize, oh, this is not about the shoes. This is an opportunity for me to tune into myself and be like, okay, in what other area of my life have I not been meeting a personal need? And it is just showing up. So that is like in the interaction of it. And then because I have an emotional wave like Brooke does, and it's important for me to be calm, when I meditate, I have noticed my body sways. And what I realized that in my body sway, it's like a mother rocking a baby. So the way that I interpret it is like, it's like the universe or the meditation is reparenting me in that moment, and they're providing comfort with the sway.
Oh my gosh. I've got some work to do
Oh
on
my
myself.
gosh.
That's incredible. That is like level on level on level, deeper on noticing your environment and really figuring out what's actually happening here.
Yeah. And let's be clear. Like I yelled 11,000 times before I got the awareness. And the opportunity to give myself grace is that I know there's an aspect of my chart that I'm designed to make mistakes for a big period of time, learn from the mistake, and then share the wisdom. So I don't have to spend time or energy beating myself up that I made the mistake. I can see it, own it, and then ask, what is the gift? What is the learning? And then try in quotes to do it differently next time, or at least catch myself and apologize. We're not robots. Even though I have a chart that's like an owner's manual being like, guess what? You were designed. You're not a robot. You're a human. Give yourself grace and experiment with it. Keep what works and let go of what doesn't, and have fun with it.
Ugh, I love that. And as you know, words are power. And so would you like to leave our listeners with some gold?
I will do that. So I want you to know the deeper we know and understand ourselves, the deeper we can know and understand others, which is the foundation for love and compassion.
This is Gold Ivy signing off.
Listen to your truth and go chase your gold.